Hello. So this is going to be a little bit of a get ready with me, story time, motivation wrapped into one. As you know, I'm a therapist. Well, you may not know, but I'm a therapist, a life coach, and I help people for a living, right? Um, but I'm one that always says, if your therapist doesn't have a therapist, get a new therapist. I had therapy on Friday, and it was my first session with a therapist, and I loved it, right? I loved her, I loved it, but that's not the point. The point is when I was talking to her about my childhood and I was talking to her just about, being the oldest daughter, all the things that kind of happened in my childhood, I found myself not really being able to remember. Now I look back, I'm like, I don't see myself as a little girl, right? So, like, even though obviously I had a childhood, even though I was young once, I see myself maybe 12 years old, right? And on. And she was like, girl, that's a trauma response. This whole time I'm thinking, oh, I just smoked too much weed in college and, I just, memory gone, right? But she was like, no, when you were in survival mode as a child, as a little girl, when you were inside the trauma, your mind was like, hey, we just got to get through this. And once we get through this, like, that's it. I want to motivate you to allow yourself to kind of bring back some of those memories, right? Like, that was something that she, was telling me because I don't see myself as a little girl. But what's interesting is that whenever you experience trauma and whatever age you experience that trauma at, a lot of times you get stuck. Your mind, your body, your desires, your attachment, like the way that you show love, the way that you expect love to be shown to you, it gets stuck at that age. I really reflect back and I'm like, damn, that was a trauma response. That was from 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old Teresa coming out, especially when you find yourself acting out of character. Okay, maybe not acting out of character, but when you find yourself surprised by what you're doing, right? Even though, let's be real, a lot of times we plan the shit. When you're surprised by those things, or you would look back and you're like, dang, that really didn't feel like it was me. It was you, obviously, but what that was is younger you trying to come out. This is what she told me, right? My therapist. She's like, what that is the younger you trying to have a childhood, living through trauma, of my parents' relationship, of, my father's addiction, ultimately their divorce, him passing away, all of those things, they need healing, right? It's not just going to go away. But the way that, for me, again, growing up, the way that I was taught to heal was, hey, move on. Keep it pushing, move on. That's not good. So anyway, that stuff doesn't go anywhere. And, it's like you think, oh, because I'm good and time has passed and all that stuff don't go nowhere. So all along, I'm like, oh, I can't remember my childhood. Well, I'm trying to act it out, right? By being impulsive or, making decisions that I'm like, oh, this would be so fun. This would be so adventurous and, da, da, da. And that's because 9, 10, 11-year-old me didn't get to do that, right? Because I was expected to act as an adult. I was expected to handle adult situations as a child. You maybe feel like, oh, I got past that, or, oh, I don't even remember that. But like I said, that stuff doesn't go anywhere. And so when you think back, even in relationships, the people that you choose to date, the people that you choose to give chance after chance after chance, in yourself, you're just not sure, like, why am I making these decisions, right? Think back to your childhood. Think back to whenever you were going through the shit that you were going through. What age were you? And then take it back, because the biggest moment of your trauma may not have been the first thing. The first thing you remember may not have been the first traumatic experience you had. And so there's clues into, okay, what parts of you are trying to heal? allow yourself some time to think through it. I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing, right? Like, I'm going to really try to think about, okay, what are those memories that I just pushed down, that I just, put on the shelf? Because again, I had to figure it out all in this first session, right? So sign of a good therapist is one session gives you like 5 or 6 light bulb moments, but you can't just think, oh, even that cliche of time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Active and intentional healing heals all wounds. Just because time has gone on doesn't mean that your wound is healed. My parents divorced and, I go to high school and, things like that. I go into a psychology class and I'm like, ooh, this is cool. People who have issues, people who have family members with issues and all that, they need help. So I'm going to be a therapist. Stories. And I'm like, whoa, that's happened to me, or whoa, this is, something that I know about. Maybe I should go and then help other people. Therapist is like, that's a trauma response. I'm just trying to help, right? It's like, no, I'm trying to project what I needed, the help I needed, right? The focus that I needed on my healing and, the intention that I needed to have towards myself. I then put that on other people, right? I went and I learned, I achieved, I got the degrees, plural, right? I got the license, and yeah, I'm sitting here helping all of these people with things that I remember experiencing, but I didn't actively choose my healing. I didn't actively seek it. And so now, as a grown adult and a therapist, right? It's like, yeah, all that still has to be intentionally acknowledged by you. Right. So I'm here to motivate you, right? That time, it goes by, but your healing is something you have to actively seek. Don't try to act like, I'm good, I'm this and that. No. Because even decisions that you make in your life that feel like they're achievements, they feel like they're exactly what you need, sometimes they're going to come from, again, the trauma that you have not healed, that you haven't been intentional about. So it's got to be something that you intentionally seek, right? And hopefully, again, it's something that you can become a lot more aware of, seek a therapist, seek a coach, come over to Resilient Love Academy, right? Because this is the, type of stuff that we're doing. This is the type of conversation that we're having in my women's group, right? It's like, we're being real about it. Because, and I even did a reel about this, even sometimes getting a degree and going back to school over and over again for a Black woman especially, is a trauma response. Because all the shit that's going on in your life, it's like, I need to get my life together. Let me go back to school. Right? Like, I'm good at it. I achieve at school. It gives me purpose. It gives me a direct path, a distraction. Right? But it's something that is hidden behind, I'm achieving. Again, it's your trauma that's like, triggering you and making you feel like, something's, that something is off. And then you go and you're like, oh, I need to feel good about myself. I need to feel valuable. I need to feel like I'm achieving. I need to feel like, I'm okay. Let me go back to school. My husband's making a smoothie. But that is something that, again, is a trauma response. So I'm here to let you know, right, that whenever you find yourself being surprised by your actions, or maybe you find yourself, not necessarily being able to remember, events or childhood things and things like that, it could definitely be a trauma response. You could be stuck, in a certain age. There could be parts of you, younger parts of you, that are really trying to heal something, right? So pay attention to that, to actively seek that. Seek help, seek some type of support system, seek some type of environment that supports that healing. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself, because it is so easy to lie. It's so easy to convince yourself that you're okay. And if you can't do it for yourself, seek somebody who's going to be real with you. Seek a therapist, seek a coach, come to Resilient Love Academy. I'm going to be real with you about it, right? So that you can really get that healing that you deserve.